Hi, I'm Clarissa, psychologist, psychotherapist, and director of Calm Mind Psychology, and today I'm going to talk to you about inner reparenting. So basically this is what people are talking about with the nurturing of the inner child, but it's an essential process towards growing yourself up with more love, self-acceptance, and developing your self-worth as a person. So in this video, I'm going to explain how to reparent yourself and why it's necessary. So in a nutshell, reparenting is helping yourself to grow up and mature. It's nurturing yourself into full maturity and integration. Reparenting doesn't mean that your parents were terrible, bad, or anything other than good enough. We all need to reparent ourselves in some areas of our life and development. This is because parents are not perfect. They are people. And even if you had a good enough parent, that is, a parent who met your needs in a relatively timely manner, who kind of understood who you were, and who demonstrated clearly that you were loved and wanted, even this parent, being a human themselves, may not have provided all that you specifically needed for your full growth and development. What you need to do in order to start reparenting yourself is to look within yourself to the areas that you find are stuck or diminished and need further development. Now, for most people, these areas reside in our inner self-dialogue. We can pretty much tell where we need to be kinder, to nurture ourselves more by listening to the voice that runs through our head all the time and how we talk to ourselves. Now, some of these thoughts are just about things. Some of them are about a conversation that has happened or could happen, or something that may happen or had have happened, or meta thoughts about things. But a lot of times this inner voice becomes quite negative, harsh, and punitive. For some people, this inner negative dialogue is absolutely fine until something happens, there's some sort of conflict or some sort of struggle in their life. And for other people, it's going all the time. No matter where you lie on the spectrum, inner reparenting is the process of becoming aware of these negative self-thoughts, judgments, and bad beliefs about self or the world, and doing something about them as you reflect on them. So it's basically changing this inner dialogue and also growing up and finding the stuck parts of yourself and identifying what they may need. So reparenting deals with the hurt, stuck, rejected parts of self that are the fuel and the content and the focus of our negative inner dialogue. So I'll give you some examples of how this could come to be. So let's get it straight from the beginning. Your parents' job is done. Whatever happened to you in your childhood, wherever they fell short, wherever they didn't quite meet your needs, is a done deal. It's in the past. It's now beholden on you to grow yourself up, to learn how to fully love yourself, and to mature as many aspects of yourself as you can. So sometimes you might have had parents that were really hardline. They were kind of get over it, get on with things, toughen up, stiff upper lip kind of parents. So these parents might have had high expectations for you. They may have been very certain to criticize you when you went wrong, or blame or shame other people when they were doing something out of line. What was lacking there, and what you would work on in terms of your reparenting, would be forming some of the patience, tolerance, and understanding and acceptance that was absent from that aspect of your parenting and your upbringing. So in this way, instead of criticizing yourself when you do something wrong, or judging yourself and berating yourself for not meeting your own internal expectations, because they are your internal expectations now, you want to be aware of these demands that you have upon yourself and encourage yourself better. Be kinder to yourself and be more accepting of yourself when you make mistakes or don't quite hit the mark and jump that high bar that you've set for yourself. So over the age of 24, you've got a mature, adult, functioning brain, hopefully. And this is the part of you that you're going to use to self-reflect on the things that you're doing and repeating to yourself. So there's a big cause for reframing a lot of this negative judgment and evaluation you have of yourself. And to reframe it, you need to catch yourself in the act of being in that default mode network with the self-referential thoughts that go round and round your head that are bad, negative, putting you down, judging, criticizing, and otherwise telling yourself that you're not worth anything. So another example of how this might have come to be is that you might have had a very permissive parent. They might have seemed really easygoing, maybe a hippie kind of parent that let the kids stay up late and didn't really have a lot of boundaries. They wanted free-range children and children to make their own decisions. And now I see where this is useful and enabling the child to have a sense of autonomy and authority in their life, but there's a limit. And children also need boundaries. They need to know that someone else can take charge and take care of them and has got their back, and that they're not responsible for all of these things. So the child that was brought up this way might lack boundaries in their own life. They might lack the ability to put themselves to bed on time when they need to. They might lack this sort of inner self-discipline that they need to be able to do things moving forward. And paradoxically, despite being given a lot of potential to make your own decisions and choose things for yourself at a very early age, this can paradoxically lead to chronic indecisiveness because you didn't really introject this sort of firm boundary of where a decision is. You may not have ever located yourself because you need another adult within which you are seen to be able to firmly locate yourself. This is part of growing up, is sort of understanding who you are. And when there isn't enough boundaries, you lack that. But if you had parents that were either overly permissive and didn't put any boundaries down, or perhaps were absent, they might have been absent through illness, through work, through any other reasons, but you might have been home alone a lot or with other siblings. You might not have had a consistent carer who was watching over you all of the time, and this can create an awful lot of basic anxiety within you. So you've got this anxiety because you are too little to be taking care of yourself, yet you have to. And a further step of this is where you had to look after younger siblings at an early age. So you had to be responsible for a little one's life. And so this makes you grow up really quickly and makes you have to have a need for control. But parentification is known as a big problem for a little kid. It's like really bad when you can't fulfill the role of being a child with the freedom and the ability to make mistakes. So let's look at tiger parents that are extremely demanding on their children. They demand a standard of perfection and performance from their children that is beyond the child's capacity or their developmental age. This again can create a sense of anxiety constantly in the child because they need the parent's love and approval, but they can never quite get it. Maybe each time they get somewhere it's not good enough, they have to go a step further or do something more. As an adult, to reparent this part of yourself, you'll need to have some form of encouragement in you or some form of acceptance for what you're actually capable of. Not all of us can do everything. Some parents have got amazing capacity and their children haven't. Mind you, they're children, right? But, we all have different capacities and capabilities within ourselves. And if a child doesn't have the capacity to do what the parent's demanding, if you were this kind of child in your upbringing, if this sort of resonates with you, what it can result in is that you're a person who's always demanding more from yourself. You're never sitting down. What you've done is never quite good enough. There's no satisfaction. You don't get this good, prideful feedback that you would have loved to have got from your parents if they could have just stopped for a minute and gone, oh, wow, you've done that. That's amazing. So you'll have to coach yourself and imbue yourself with this positive self-talk. So when you've done something, feel good about what you've done. Tell yourself what a great job you've done. Focus on what you've done right and not what you've done wrong. Be aware that you might have this deep sense of never quite being enough for anyone, let alone for yourself. And it's not necessarily now anyone's standards that you're driven by, it's your own standards. And you're constantly pushing yourself to do more, and never being satisfied or happy with what you have done. So having given you these examples, maybe now you can take some notes about where you feel it is that you need to work on greater acceptance, approval, understanding, and value of self. You can actually look maybe back through your childhood and feel those pain points of where you felt that you let your parents down, where you weren't being seen, valued, cherished, accepted, or valued for being uniquely you. Because this is the most important part of self-love, is actually accepting who we are. And who you are right now may not be who you're telling yourself you should be, you ought to be, you want to be, you could be, but it is who you are right here and now. And so you don't want to repeat the things that were done to you when you were younger. You don't want to keep repeating this negative self-dialogue and feeling these feelings of never quite being enough or unworthy. You want to cultivate your ability for self-love, acceptance, approval, and value. And you need to do that. Now, you can do reparenting with a therapist, with an older family member who has sort of taken the role of a caring parent or a kindly mentor even. I encourage you, if these things feel particularly difficult, that you do find another person who can mirror to you and emulate what kindness and compassion and caring and patience and tolerance actually is. For some people, it's completely foreign. Your own negative inner dialogue can be so overwhelming that you couldn't even conceive of having a kind thought about yourself. So if that is the case for you, then I do recommend you probably find yourself a good therapist or a mentor or a coach or an elder or someone that you know who has got these positive traits that you can hang out with and learn from them how they talk to themselves and you and other people, and you can see how it is to be kind and valuing and patient. So to summarize, reparenting is developing within yourself that good parental figure to nurture the parts of yourself or your inner child parts that are wounded, stuck, and develop a sense or a feeling of self-love. Now, self-love can sound like a big task for many people, but it's actually really simple. It doesn't mean to say you have to narcissistically love yourself. It means that you have a healthy acceptance of who you are and who you are right now. Now, you might not be in the best place in your life right now, but I bet there are many good reasons for that. Your upbringing might be one of them. There's all sorts of things and adversity and stress that we've been through in the recent years. However, who you are right now in this moment is good enough. And I want to encourage you to be able to be in acceptance of that. Now, the caveat is that we're not just saying, accept who you are if you're being, not really doing anything and doing things that you know are destructive to yourself. They could be self-sabotaging things. Because the step forward also in reparenting is becoming your own good parent that encourages you to be your best self. So you accept where you are right now. You value who you are as a unique individual in and of your own right. Like there's only one of you, and that's a good thing. We all have our faults and we all have our areas where we need improvement or we need greater self-acceptance. So where you are right now is where you are right now. And it's not going to be where you are tomorrow. Because moving forward, once you've let yourself off the hook from all of this negative self-talk and started to inject a few kind thoughts, some self-acceptance, some understanding of where you've come from, and some nurturing of those parts of yourself that need more support and help. Not all of you, parts of yourself. Then you can move towards self-encouragement, becoming your own inner cheerleader even. So you can actually start to replace those horrible negative comments and judgments with something a little bit more easy, like, oh, well, everybody makes mistakes. It's okay. I can do better next time. It's all right that I'm not where I want to be now. I accept where I am right now. It's okay. But moving forward, I can see how I can take steps to get further. Part of this might involve developing greater self-discipline, not too much. You don't want to be a harsh disciplinarian of yourself. But, good self-habits. Maybe things that you didn't learn when you were growing up and now you see the value in them and you want to learn them, like cleaning up your room and making your bed in the morning. So I hope you found this helpful. So if you did find it helpful, please hit the like button. You're welcome to subscribe if you want to hear more from me and more of my videos moving forward. And I wish you the best on your journey to full self-acceptance and self-love and becoming a really good parent to yourself.